And a good evening and a very warm welcome to everybody to a Lyceum night coming to you from the Paul Spiritualist Church on the south coast of the UK. Wonderful gentleman with us tonight. Several recommendations for him came through contacts that I have. And when we actually spoke online, I just thought, yeah, I see why people love this guy. He is such a nice guy. And Jason, sir, you are a certificate holder with the Spiritualist National Union in speaking, demonstrating, and teaching, I believe. You're on mute, sir. Okay. How's that? No. We can't hear you, Jason, unfortunately.
And now?
And now we can. There we go.
Like
you see? What you said before we went live, you said, I'm losing my voice. Well, it went a bit quicker than we thought.
Yeah, I think the Spirit World were playing around with my microphone.
Yeah, they have a great sense of humour.
So to answer your question, yes, and yes. I have a certificate in demonstrating, speaking, and the teacher's certificate.
Brilliant. And always very popular. And this ability with your mediumship, was this something that was always apparent from a very early age, or is it something you came into in later life?
I was always in a connection with another world. I think most of my teachers would have said I was dreamy, always looking out of the window, imaginary friends, trying to let my mother know that there's people visiting me at night time from the spirit world, but I didn't know they were from the spirit world. I just said there were people, and she told me, "Go to sleep. You're having a dream. That's all it is." And so that's how it started for me. But yeah, otherwise, it was after losing a loved one. Suddenly, I was made very apparent that the spirit world was very close, and not only was the spirit world close, but the spirit world let me know that I was a medium. And that was a bit of a wake-up call, because I thought I was hearing voices, and I was feeling the touch of spirit after my brother passed to the spirit world, and I realized there's more to this life than I thought there was. And so that began my investigation to find out what can I do with this sensitivity, with these gifts. And my brother from the spirit world, I believe he actually did push me in the right direction. Let's put it that way.
That is really interesting, because that is a very common thread with a lot of the working evidential mediums or philosophers, that primarily there was that sensitivity. I remember sitting at the back of classes, and I was playing in the sandpit at the back of the car, and I think the teachers just went, "Oh, Savile, get on with it. We're not bothered with you now." Just, not being present in the time. But again, another common thread is when we go through that process of losing somebody incredibly close to us, that does seem to sort of like kickstart, to jolt the... I'm not sure that's the right way of saying it, actually. Not kickstart it, but just raise it in our consciousness, I think, is probably the more apt way of saying it.
Absolutely. It was, for me, it was... it's funny you used the word kickstart, and it was like, for me, it was like an electric shock, because my brother, he decided he could never keep a secret. So the moment that he got to the spirit world, he couldn't wait to let me know that life continued. So he did everything within his power waking me up at 3 o'clock in the morning with blasting the song out, Everessence, Wake Me Up inside, which literally did wake me up. But it wasn't coming through from my ears. It was actually coming through an energy that was flowing through my body. So it was really confusing because this was something that happened. And he managed to do that to me, my sister, my wife, and his girlfriend at the time. He chose his music for his funeral after he passed to the spirit world.
Wow. And that's interesting as well, what you say about not hearing through the ears.
No.
Because people who do not work in this field, in their mediumship, I sometimes struggle with the language that we use, and we just say it as mediums, don't we? Oh, I hear.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
I really wish somebody would go in my ear. Oi! But we just know it's there. It is there. It's this physical presence, but it's not going through the eardrum.
Exactly. Yeah.
And often in communication, we will say, "Oh," and they're expressing their love to you. They're saying about their love for you, but they're not, because we get that we just want to go over there and just give the world's biggest hug ever. Because of that love flowing through us from the other world. You're currently working and living over in Holland.
Well, living in Germany,
Right.
but working in Holland. So that's correct. Yes.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've done that for many years. Living in Germany. I've been in Germany now about 20 years, but I've always been doing some work in Holland, whether it's my mediumship work or whether it's my work as a male nurse looking after people with Alzheimer's and dementia. That's so I'm either doing what I'm doing, one or the other, but I'm always like to be able to bring insight into the nursing profession as well.
And there is a lot of insight to be gained. I've had 2 experiences of contact with Alzheimer patients, one who had passed, but one who was still here. And I found that not only fascinating, but I thought extremely comforting, that person was not bound by the flesh. Their spirit was free to roam. And I just thought, you know what, that is an incredibly comforting thought for Alzheimer's, diseases of the mind. A lot of people describe it as one of the cruelest conditions, because every day you're losing that person gradually.
Yeah. The amazing thing about it, Lawrence, is people with Alzheimer's and dementia, they might be losing their physical mind, because the mind is actually, it's disappearing. There's parts of the mind that are actually physically disappearing. But on a soul level, they're complete. They're a complete person, a complete spirit. So if I was to communicate with them as they are now, it's purely through the feelings, and they're highly sensitive. The more that they become in the dementia state, they can feel me. So it's how I conduct my feelings is how they react. And so the communication is not only through words, but through feelings, just like we communicate with the spirit world, really. So it's like, it's really, it's just using the sensitivity to create comfort, and some very can be difficult times for them,
Yeah. It is. My heart goes out, and it always just seems this quirk with conditions of the mind. It seems like sometimes our strengths in the physical become the things that are turned against us. So if we're very strong physically and very active physically, the body then starts to betray us, for want of a better expression. And if you're very cerebrally led, very good friend of mine was a brilliant architect,
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. His designs were award-winning,
Mm.
and in a very short space of time. Physically fine, but the mental process had just gone like ephemera to him. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting, when we first started out on these online talks and meeting people from all over the world, one thing that came to light that was still a bit of a surprise to us, that in Europe, you haven't got the access to spiritualism that we have in the UK. If I drive 5 miles in a circle around Paul Church, I will come across 5 other churches.
Correct.
You know, we've got that, but we haven't got that yet in Europe. And Germany in particular fascinates me. I don't know if you know this gentleman, Dr. Robert Berendt.
It rings a bell, but I don't know him.
He is a lovely, lovely man. He's right up in the north of Germany. And I was intrigued when he was talking about practicing spiritualism in Germany, because they would hire this beautiful place. It looked like something out of Euro Disney. It was just like, wow. It was stunning. But it was selected because it was out of the way, because it's still, spiritualism is still a bit of a touchy subject. It's not something you've spoken about so openly and freely as we do in the UK. Is that what you find, or different to that?
Absolutely. In Holland, they had their own movement of let's say, mediumship and phenomena. They had their own movement in what we call in Dutch spiritual verenigingen, which basically means like spiritual groups, spiritual centers. I probably haven't translated that completely correct, but that's what it basically means, where they can create groups where they can come together and watch mediumship, and different mediums will come every week. So similar to churches, but then not with the prayer, or the there'll be an opening with some very inspiring music. There are some that have that are trying to bring more spiritualism to Germany, to Holland as well, and it's nice to see. I know there was the first spiritualist church, or that was the spiritualist church in Amersfoort, and that was through Joker and John Haytham, and they really they put spiritualism on the map in Holland at the time, and that had a knock-on effect that inspired others who worked in that church to open up similar churches in the same sort of vein, so that they could encourage people to come and experience the prayer, the inspired words, and the actual feeling of the mediumship and the healing, just like you would in England. But only I find Holland, when I go to Holland, to any sort of spiritualist service, there's always a little bit more upbeat music.
Yeah.
And when you come to spiritualist church in the UK, and I've been to quite a few, they'll have hymns, and I'm like, oh, how did this hymn go? I need to rack my brain how we used to sing that when I was back in school. It's been 20 years in Germany, but before that I was 10 years in Holland. So it's been a long time. When I actually got here and I didn't realize that I'd moved away from spiritualism, and I didn't know anything about spiritualist churches before then. I remember years ago looking at the Channel 4 thing with my mother, and she says, look at this, is a really good medium on television. I said, Mum, I don't believe in all that. And I think it was Mavis Patilda or something on Channel 4 or something. And I said, but just watch it, she's really good. Yeah, Mum, that's great, but I've just got to go down the pub. And so it wasn't an interest that I had when I was going through my teenage years, it wasn't until I actually moved as far away as possible from spiritualism that suddenly my gifts started to work and become more apparent, and I got a greater interest. And the one time I thought, why? What's the point of being a spiritualist at heart if you're in a place living in a village where nobody believes in this sort of thing, in the area nobody believes in this sort of thing? You got to go at least 150 kilometers that way to meet one spiritualist church. There is Daniela Nyhouse that's just down the. She's about I think it's 40 kilometers away from me now. She's starting to bring some movement, but when I first started this, there was I'd have to travel 2.5 hours to go to a circle to learn, and I used to drive there, do the circle, or whether it was a courses, and then drive back.
Yeah.
And people are like saying to me, well, "You must be mad to do that." I said, "No, I've just got this feeling. I've just got to do it. I have to investigate this spiritualism. I have to investigate this spirit, this phenomena of mediumship, and find out what is it all about."
This is a term that's being used more and more nowadays, and I like it. I like terminology that is descriptive and appetite, because we use the word medium. Well, are you a healing medium, an evidential medium, a trance? So I do like the descriptors coming in, and when we talk about the phenomena of spiritualism, we do have that. And not only do we have that, this is demonstrated and shown daily across the UK.
Yeah.
And that's without now the advent of the electronic churches and demonstration. I sat in a what's today? Saturday. Where am I? Earth. I think I might end up under your care. I watched I watched a dem last night. I won't mention the medium because I know it'll embarrass them. Do you know what? It was outstanding. It was, and when you want the word phenomena, and associated with that level of evidence that flowed, it is. It's and this is what I love. And this is my passion within spiritualism, is trying to get other people to get that passion as well. Not to sit there watching.
That's what's needed, Lawrence. I think that's what's needed in the churches, but also in different countries. But you said, "Oh, what sparked your mediumship? Was it the spirit world that sparked your mediumship?" And really, it's what came first, the medium or the spirit. It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? But what came first, the spirit world or the medium? And it's like, and when you think about it, when the time was right, spirit would show themselves, make noises, create phenomena where people couldn't walk around it. Emma Hardinge-Britton, all the way back, and then she experienced mediumship. The Fox sisters experienced mediumship in a physical way. All these knocks and raps and taps, where they actually let them know that there was more to life than just the physical world, and that's what the spirit world did. And then it became a movement, and that's what we had a lovely talk, didn't we, Lawrence, about the movement of spiritualism. But it's like that, and that spark of belief that we have about spiritualism, spirit, the spirit world, that phenomena of spirit, is like we would love to just shout it from the rooftops and let people know. Oh, wouldn't you know that life continues, and that there's like you're an infinite soul that's never going to die. How amazing is that? And all these people are going through their struggles in their life, and how amazing is that if they could hear these words, or hear the truth, or be ready to hear the truth,
And again, it's times like this where the world is so different, and almost on a daily basis things are changing consistently, constantly. One of the things I love with the spirit and spiritualism is the consistency of it. The message never falters.
No.
The message never changes. We don't suddenly go, oh yeah, but if you start doing this, you'll be one of the ascent. We don't get involved in that. It's just very simple. You do not die.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
do not die for the life of you.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to my work, the amount of times I've experienced people passing over to the spirit world, amazing moments where I've seen them go through the struggle of the last moments, and then afterwards they'll come and just thank me for all the help that I've given them at the end and all the help that I gave them when they were there. And I just think it's amazing and very humbling to be in that position. It really is.
Yeah, and it is absolutely awesome when that does happen. It's just like, I had a message, one typical sitter. No, don't know that. No, sorry, it's not making any sense. About 2 weeks later, I'm stood there doing the washing up, and I went, "Oh my god, I know exactly who they're talking about now." It just all fallen into place. And it was a severely handicapped gentleman, and his wife used to travel regularly on the railways when I worked on them. And if they were on my train, I would always go down, make sure they're all right, get them a drink from the buffet because she was unable to leave him. And I would do all that. And this medium, bless her heart, was relaying all this. I'm going, no, don't remember that. No, sorry, you got the wrong one. When the penny dropped, I went, oh, good goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. I have various bees in my bonnet at times. I have thoughts that come in, and they seem to obsess me for a while. And it was actually in a conversation with Daniela. And I said, I'm very envious of the spiritualists in Europe now. I said, because in my thinking, you are the new pioneers. You mentioned something there about the music. It's more upbeat, different music.
Yeah.
We have this tradition in the UK, and things in some areas have just got a little bit stinted. If we are seeing new music being played, and please, anybody listening, please do not play Spirit in the Sky anymore. All right, just stop it, because I've been the last 6 services I've been to, and now a piece of music, Spirit in the Sky, and I'm thinking, please find another. But you've got this golden opportunity now, in my opinion, my humble opinion, that where spiritualism has seen this online explosion. We had a demo fundraiser for the church recently, and probably 80% of those that were joining in were from European countries. So that interest and that eagerness is there. So you've got this golden chance now to look at the UK and look at what we do well. I'm not slating it. We do a lot of things really well in our movement in the UK, but also look at the areas where we can improve. And it's always easier to set up something new than to change something that's already established.
Yeah, I think with the laws and the bylaws and the things that need to be abided by in churches in England, because it's the law, it makes it very difficult to rapidly change it. And like you said, the golden opportunity in new countries like Holland, Germany, it is a good way to be able to bring the Spirit to people in such a lovely way. In the vein of spiritualism, it's amazing to do, and I think you can do it in many ways. It's like every demonstration, I'm like, I don't know. I think coming to England and doing my certificates in speaking and demonstrating and the teaching, it changed something in me. It made me very humble about working with Spirit. And also, I used to go to these spiritual centers in Holland, and we used to go there, and I'd just go there, right, put on a bit of upbeat music, and do a demonstration like a demonstration. And after going through the training and seeing how spiritual churches worked, I was like, okay, well, we'll play a bit of music and we'll give them a bit of inspiration, and then we'll do some demonstrating.
Yeah.
And so it started to change the way that I was working. And sometimes I'll repeat that inspirational words in the middle of a demonstration as well. So in that way, you're still uplifting everyone. So yeah, it's certainly changing. It's exciting to be a part of it.
Brilliant. Yeah. And it is in the inspirational words, or the philosophy, or the address, as we terminology, wherever you are, it changes. Alongside the seed of a well-delivered message, where the recipient will hopefully be leaving that church or centre thinking, how does that work? How do they know this?
Yeah.
But also in that philosophy, I always believe, the philosophy should give people that strength, that courage, and that conviction to walk out of any doors and face today's world.
Exactly.
With a little bit more foresight, a little bit more understanding, a little bit more depth, and a lot less fear.
Exactly. It's such good to bring philosophy that's to do with today's world, and to be around today's world, and not to avoid what's going on, but yet to just embrace what's going on, and help people feel a little bit stronger, a little bit more hope. And I think that's a wonderful thing to do with philosophy.
It is the best.
Yeah.
It's all very public. This is not a secret. I have this bromance that blossomed with Jack Eckhart from Denmark. We met online, and his lovely partner Lola. And before long, they actually turned up at the doors of the church physical, which was just amazing. And in my talks with him, he runs the Danish Spiritual Association up there. And he's saying one of the big things that they work with is a lot of the thinking is based on psychic readings.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of work and a lot of progress made on differentiating. I mean, it used to be, I remember in some of my old circles being berated by the circle leader of, that's psychic, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
And it was always the psychic was the dirty word. I'm really pleased to see that now psychism is becoming much more acceptable, but we need still just to keep on with this message of the difference. We're not saying, oh, that's bad, that's good, but we're just saying this is that ability of you, of your spirit, but this is the other ability of the other world stepping in. Have you found that when you started over there that this line between the two, mediumship and psychism, was quite pronounced or not understood?
In the beginning, there was a lot of psychism. There was a lot of psychic things, like they do candle readings, flower readings. Ribbons was something from England, but they did card readings, flower readings, candle readings. If you wrote your name on a bit of paper and then folded it up, then they do that. They do a raffle ticket readings. So a lot of it was through objects, and that's how mediumship used to be. And I remember going to demonstrations of what I thought was mediumship back in when I was in my investigating stage, and they were doing all these sort of different things, which was really interesting. And since then, since there's been a lot of mediums going to the Arthur Findlay College, training in the Arthur Findlay College, coming back and basically teaching students that there's a difference between the psychism and the mediumship. I mean, I love to demonstrate and I love to show people the difference in when I'm demonstrating, I'll mention I'm getting all this information from your father, and then all of a sudden I'll be, but as I'm standing here, I do feel I need to talk to you about this, and this is from me as the medium.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice to demonstrate that, not only in a demonstrating style, but also to demonstrate it in a teaching way as well.
Yeah. I've found here I don't advertise to undertake private sittings, but I've just over the last few months there has been quite a demand of them coming in, and I found even in those that it shifts wildly. I did 3 on 3 consecutive days. The first one was pure mediumship, pure evidence, communication. The second was a mixture of mediumship and psychism, but the third one was reliant on psychism mainly, but there was that presence of spirit, just to reiterate a few of the subjects.
Yeah.
And each sitting was really well received by the sitter because that's what they needed.
Exactly.
And I thought that is so interesting. Lawrence, get off your soapbox. You're not here to please yourself. You're here for that sitter.
Yeah.
And what their needs are of the day. So yeah, fascinating.
I like the way you mentioned that, because I think mediums out there, people learning, they struggle. Oh, I need to get information from the spirit world. I need to get the information from the spirit world, and they keep checking the information, and it's about the sitter, and they're like, no, something's going wrong, and they start complaining about their mediumship because they're not getting the information from the spirit world, and I say, but why don't you just swap and then just let that information flow, that you say, right, okay, I'm getting this information about you, and then once that's out of the way, then it's open to the spirit world to bring something new in. And it's learning the difference. I mean, I love doing what I call with students. I say, right, we're going to do a psychic reading for one person and a mediumistic reading for another person at the same time.
Ooh.
And I make it into a little game, and it's a little chair game that when you're connecting with the spirit world, you got to move to the spirit world, and when you're connecting to the sitter, you're moving towards the sitter, and it's really good. It's really fun to do, and it brings across the message of even the psychic information that you can bring through for people is just as important as well as the mediumship, but it's also learning to know the difference, because I've seen so many mediums work, and I'm not like, I mean, it's good, but it's psychic, and you can feel it, because when someone's connecting to the spirit world, there's like it's electric, it's magic, it's like this. Oh wow, isn't this great? It's like the energy's there, and then when they've dipped into the psychic, and you see them working, you can see the energy's moving forward to the sitter or the recipient. And you can also see and feel that the energy's dropped. It's not as exciting. It's suddenly become a different level. So and then they think they're working mediumistically when really they're working psychically. So it's nice to be able to teach people to work both ways and to know the difference about both ways.
Yeah, it is very important that we teach that, and very important too that we encourage people to be honest about how we're working. When I'm on the psychic level, I call it a very functional energy. So I like the way you just said you can feel the energy drop, because it does become a functional energy. But when I'm within the presence of the other world, it's very inspirational energy. Words are falling out of my mouth and queuing up behind, and there is no control there, and I don't want the control. I want to let them speak.
Exactly.
But we are working for that sitter, and it is what that sitter needs.
Yeah. Meeting the needs of the sitter, but also meeting the needs of the spirit world. It's something that Paul Jacobs teaches very, very well. Very well. a great teacher, someone that's taught me in the past as well. But he teaches that very, very well. Meeting the needs is one of his weeks at the Arthur Findlay College. So if anyone's interested.
And Paul is with us here in Poole next year. Well,
there you go. What a treat.
I know. I'm a very lucky bunny. I get to meet all these wonderful, wonderful people. Excuse me. Yeah, so really looking forward to that. But as I said, you know, we are in this world today of trouble. You know, every time, if you still watch the news and things like that, it's never good. Right. Our bills, everything, every facet of our life is just getting hit again. Yeah. But of course, you know, the spirit world respond to that. Yeah. And this is the amazing thing. And I love when you said about, you know, you feel that energy. And when you get that true mediumistic connection, even in a church environment or a center environment, a group environment, that presence is felt, and quite often not just by the sitter, but those around.
Exactly. It's the whole church. Yeah.
We had a very emotive connection made here a little while back. And not only did the sitter have tears in their eyes, but several people around them as well had those tears. And they all said when they came out, oh my God, you could feel that. And said, yeah, this is what we do. This is the magic that we bring.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's definitely the most magical thing, I think, is that feeling where you can feel the mediums in connection. And when they connect to the right recipient, you just feel the energy just go like that.
Yeah.
And then everyone reacts to it. And they're like, oh, isn't that amazing that phenomena, great, I love that word, that can take place, and it's like a reunion of souls at that moment, and everyone can witness it in a spiritualist church or a demonstration of mediumship, and it's really just fascinating. So what I love about it, it's a bit like Forrest Gump when he's opening his chocolates. He says he loves his box of chocolates because you never know what you're going to get. And it's the same with mediumship in the spirit world. And you work as a medium, you never know what's going to come through. You never know what's going to be good evidence. You're never going to know what's going to be. It just evolves. Or at the moment, in that split second that the energy moves through the medium at that time, it's
indeed
that's the magic of it. Yeah.
And that word is very important as well, because this is getting more and more airtime about energy.
Yeah.
And it's working with and understanding the energy. You know, if I get up on the rostrum and I've just had a terrible day, I've had a huge row with somebody, my trousers no longer fit because I'm too fat now, and my cooking is a disaster. It ain't going to be that good, is it? Because I just brought that shroud with me.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're trying to relay that. People say here in the church at Poole, they say, it feels wonderful in here. And I said, yeah, because I'm quite hot on the energies. I'm always try to be uplifting, upbeat. The music is upbeat, uplifting. I will also, if we have any dissent going on, if there's anything going on, I will go in and just go, okay, what's going on? We need to talk about this. Because sadly, you do see it in places where you get the nip, 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 nip going on in the background, and you walk in and it's present. You know, if love can be present, then so can any other emotion.
Exactly.
And something I'm very keen to get people to understand. You know, you are what you create.
Like every single person in a congregation or in a demonstration, they all bring their own presence and energy with them, and that all contributes to the way that a mediumship or a spiritual church can do their divine services. It's all a part of the magic that can take place. Now, if you've got people in the back or even maybe in the front nattering away, not being present, or they're looking at the telephones, or they're not being present. And so it's like, just imagine if we were going to a restaurant to have like a 5-star deluxe meal, and then we'd only eat like a tenth of it because we're busy doing something else. We'd go home hungry, wouldn't we? So if we go into a spiritualist church or a demonstration of mediumship to really fully enjoy every moment of it and to be present, there is an art to it. But if people did it, then they'd see, experience, and understand a lot more about how mediumship works, and also about how the spiritualism moves through them, or what part they are. Because I love the way First Nations from Canada, when I was doing my mediumship there, I met a chief there, and he said to me, everybody is medicine. And I said, what do you mean? He said, everyone brings their energy. When we're talking about energy, that is the medicine that's needed. And it may be, some medicine doesn't taste good, does it? You might meet someone, a colleague or something, you've got to work with them, and say, oh God, I've got to work with them. But that's the medicine that you feel, oh, this is the medicine I don't like, it doesn't taste good. But their energy is medicine for you, for it is then to turn inwards and feel, what do I need to shift within me to feel comfortable in this situation? And that's when we have progression of our soul. If we're in denial, we'll go, no, I just won't work with them. They bring my energy down, or I'll never do them, or it's something that happens quite a lot now. People will just say, oh, that's it, I'll just block them, or won't talk to them anymore, because they're not in the right energy. And I feel really, when we're working with presence and being present in a spiritual demonstration, or in a spiritualist church, or even just doing spiritual readings, to be present. And if the sitter is present as well, or the congregation, we become like this wonderful soup of medicine that is good for all of us. And that, because I used to be a chef, you see, so that was in my earlier years. So I like to relate to food things, but it's amazing, the art of being present. I think that's something we all need to learn, and to bring into our congregations, churches, and spiritual demonstrations.
Indeed. And as we progress on our mediumship path, no matter how that expresses itself, that awareness, if I go for a walk anywhere, I'm not just walking there, thinking I've got to get there and go and do that. I will walk and try and take in and acknowledge everything that I see.
Yeah.
Because that is building the experience up, and this is building the toolbox for, in fact, I go to the gym now.
I can see, yeah.
My favorite machine's the chocolate machine. Anyway, but on the cycle, you can put a video on, and it's all these different places that they could put on the TV screen. And I was halfway through a communication. I went, I'm in San Francisco. I know that because I'm looking at the Bay Bridge here, and I know that there's this marina there, and this gentleman and they were going, yeah, that's right. And it's only because I was looking at this TV screen. I'm going, oh, that's what the Golden Gate Bridge looks like. Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was so high, and didn't realize it went back that far and things. Yeah. But it is having that awareness and taking things in.
Yeah.
And it does make you realize how insular our thinking used to be.
Exactly.
We could walk down the road, do shopping, go and post some letters, go to the bank, come back, and you say, what did you see? I don't know.
Yeah. I know.
You won't have that memory. You won't have that thought, that connection with things.
I know.
And it's the same within our churches, centres, demonstrations, whatever. Yeah. Just be aware of what's going on, not sitting there waiting for a message, not only engaging when you personally are being spoken to. I always say, clear response from the sitters. This may be your message, but it could be somebody else's evidence. Because if somebody is sitting there and investigating what we do, and they are listening, they are present in that moment, and they're hearing yes, 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 and sometimes to fantastic things, not the mundane.
Yeah.
But that is going to register with those people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like the phenomena of mediumship and the demonstrating of it, and the words that can be shared. It can mean so much to others that are investigating it, and they'll come in and they'll watch. And I'm sure you've had this happen as well. People come in and they're very skeptical, and they're sitting at the back, they've got their arms folded, and they're probably going to be the first or second person that's going to get a link. So they're getting a contact from the spirit world, and all of a sudden, those arms are not folded at the end of it, and they've suddenly got more research to do on. No, that was something that's opened a door that I need to look into, and I think that's what it's all about. It's all about that opening doors for people to more.
Yeah. I petition people regularly at Paul Church and just say, when you have that communication, when you have that level of evidence, what does that mean? I love that phrase, the message of the message.
Yeah.
What is that saying? Because if this person, whatever the relationship is to you, has gone through that process of that which we call death, but is here and vibrant and intelligent and engaging and aware of what's going on, what does your path hold for you?
Exactly.
What does that mean to you?
I think really, and what I've noticed, in mediumship, is we are learning from the spirit world more and more.
Yeah.
And it's when we're like, when you're first starting out and you're doing mediumship, you're like, I have to do it a certain way because it feels comfortable. For me, it was pictures. I used to be a fax machine. I used to get loads and loads of pictures. It was all evidence. And I thought it was fantastic. And I thought that's how mediumship worked. And it wasn't until through development and understanding the presence of the spirit world where I realized it's not about being just a picture person. It's actually about the presence of spirit. And so the spirit world are always, if we're open, they're always open to bringing through more information in different ways. Energetically, they like to play with electrics, like they were playing with my microphone today, but they also like to play with lights. So the last demonstration I did in Scotland, the lights, all of a sudden the lights went out, and then bang on 10 o'clock when the demonstration was over, the lights went out then as well, and they left one light on, and I was like, it reminded me of that song, One Light in the Darkness by I can't remember who it was, but it was a beautiful song, One Light in the Darkness. Might have to do a little search on that. I think and it was actually in a group with Mavis Patilla, and she played that song to me. I thought, isn't it amazing? One light in the darkness, that really that's us, and the ability to shine that light is what we can do in this world. And so it's a lovely song where more people. Or it's one voice in the dark. I think it's one voice in the darkness.
Right.
But that's the amazing thing. You think, also the spirit world can do this now. They can turn the lights off and leave one on. And so these things, it's suddenly becoming accepting. Going with what the spirit world give you is the evolution of mediumship. We're never going to change the six senses, but apart from what I'm realizing the spirit world are bringing in now is it's quite new. Is they're letting us be aware of their consciousness, which isn't pictures. It may not be a feeling. It may not be what you're hearing, but it's actually, when you listen very softly, it's like you can almost feel them standing next to you, and then you're just relaying that consciousness from the spirit world, which it's certainly the way I feel that the mediumship is certainly evolving in that way. And the more that we open up to possibilities within our six senses, and I know some people will say there's 9 senses, or probably even more senses. There's always another sense being invented, but really, it's about being open to whatever the way that the spirit worlds communicate with you. They might want to try something new today. So if I was the old Jason who used to just do the pictures, I'd just be the picture man, which was really great back then, and it got me yeses and it was evidence. But that spark that we were talking about when you started, Lawrence, it's that spark. That's the ignition. That's what really moves us to change in mediumship. And when we can release the control of how we would like the information, then we open possibilities from the spirit world. It can be scary, but then you open to the possibilities of how the spirit world can work with you.
Yeah. It's always a worrying phrase when I hear it from students in circle. I want that, and you just think, careful, because you've just put barriers up.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of saying, let's go for it. My saying in my head when I'm getting into the den mode is, right, let's party.
Exactly.
And that's my little mantra to the spirit world, and they know from that, it's like, oh, okay. I don't sit there with my checklist. I want name, age, sex, height, relationship, blah, 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 blah. Because there's so much more.
Yeah.
There is so much more. That presence of that person and being that person.
Exactly.
Instead of saying, oh, they're telling me this, is that, well, I'm looking out now of my window and I'm looking across vast green fields behind me, because you're there. You are there. You are one with that presence. And it's beautiful. But I think really interesting what you're saying about what we're seeing now, and again regarding the phenomena of mediumship, and no matter what form of expression that takes, is because we've dropped our barriers. I've said this a few times. I know you can see the church behind me, and it used to be chairs either side, flat, facing forward, central aisles, classic church setup. When 2020 arrived, before things overtook everybody, you knew something was wrong. So I changed the layout of the chairs. I curved them round. I put in 2 aisles rather than 1. So just giving people that little bit of space. And I always remember this. One person said, well, that's not going to work now, is it? I said, what? Well, spirit can't get across that gap. It's like a 2-foot gap. And I'm thinking, well, spirit can't get across a 2-foot gap, love. I mean, how the hell do they manage to get all the way from heaven? But it just, it's just very much the thinking, because we thought orthodoxly, and we thought very restrictive. If you teach your dog to sit up and beg for one type of biscuit, it's only ever going to sit up and beg for one type of biscuit. If you teach your dog to play and go and find biscuits, it's going to be all over the place finding all sorts of things.
Exactly.
So we're dropping our barriers. I'm talking to you tonight. You are over there in Germany. Again, we're seeing the online demonstrations globally. I did it when we were in one of the lockdowns. I did it just to see if it could do it. And we had a service with somebody from Iceland, somebody from Norway, somebody from Scotland. I was sharing here in the UK, then over to Madeira and down to Australia. And it all worked. A whole service just came together. And I'm just like, this is great. because I'm a big kid. But this is what, the spirit world is unlimited potential. So let's not limit it. Let us not limit it. That is what I say.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Have your grounding. Have your grounding in the basics of the communication. The medium's mantra, do no harm. Evidential bases. Everything. This is one of my big passions with spiritualism, because every facet of every type of mediumship has an evidential basis. Our philosophy will resonate with us. When you see somebody who's particularly gifted with their philosophy, I love looking out at the congregation, and over 2/3 will be sat there with their eyes closed. They're not asleep, but they're really taking it in. They're really taking it. And that is evidential to me. That is evidential that the presence of those words, of that school of thought, is making its presence felt. Our healing mediums, time and time again, all right, we don't see the miracles that we want, but we do see that care and assistance and healing has been given in accordance to the needs. And then obviously with our evidential mediumship. So, we need to say to spirit, and I saw one thing being demonstrated by two different people, and it was about the voice recorders that they use. They scan up and down the radio waves.
Yeah.
The Frank's box, I think it's called. And constantly scan up and down radio waves, and you can interact in a conversation with it. And I saw it demonstrated once, and it was a little bit fey, a little bit light-hearted the way it was done. But then I saw another practitioner do it and really earnestly put down the intent and went about it in a very, very methodical and professional manner. And the results were amazing. I was just sat there gobsmacked. I'm going, wow. Wow. That's just wow. That is evidential. They had the same name repeated 3 times. I'm just going, wow.
That's good.
Yeah. So we need to relax our barriers and just say to the spirit, what can we do? What can we do? What can we go for? And again, like you say, with the electronics, everyone's got a mobile phone now.
Yeah.
So is that going to be the new form of direct voice? That on your voice recorder on your phone, there could be a message.
You never know. You never know. I know the spirit world used to play with my Ziri on my telephone, and I'd just be having a conversation with someone, and it would go off. It would just start up and start talking. So I had to disable it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Jason, this hour has flown by.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really interesting. And we look forward to seeing you at Poole at some time in the future when everything aligns. But it will happen because I cannot not have you now over here.
It would be my pleasure. If we can get it into a line, Lawrence, it would be my pleasure.
Yeah, you're a very, very busy man. I know that. Absolutely fine. It will happen. I'm just going back to a message here from the lovely Moira Hawkins. Good evening, Moira.
Yes.
Most people may know Jeanette Abbott. If you don't, there's Tim Abbott, is well known for his trance. Jeanette is his lovely wife. I have met her. They stayed here for a weekend.
Yeah.
And we had hours of fun. Seriously, they're absolutely lovely. Jeanette's health is in a very poor way at the moment. So, You've probably seen this on Facebook. If you have not, please, if you have healing books, or just sit and just send out those thoughts for healing for Jeanette at this time, because they're so sorely in need. And don't forget Tim and their wonderful daughter Lucy as well, because it's not just the one person going through this time. It's the whole family are affected. So yeah, lots of love out to you, Jeanette. You're a lovely, lovely lady. Yeah, all the best. All the best, my darling.
Yeah, really are. I've met Tim about myself and Jeanette as well. And they even demonstrated together in many churches, and always been doing fantastic work for Spirit. And for those that don't know how to heal, I mean, just sending your love and intention to Jeanette Abbott will raise her spirits and energy, and I'm sure it will raise the family's spirit and energy as well.
Yeah. That's what I always say to people. You know, you don't have to train to be a healer. Everybody can express love.
Yeah.
And that is healing.
Yeah.
Because everything then is done in that energy is in the art of healing. So yeah, big thoughts out to you, all of you, Tim and Lucy and Jeanette herself. Yeah. Jason, thank you, sir. Thank you. I always have to remember you're an hour ahead over there, so I can quite happily waffle on for England, but then I'm just thinking, well, it's getting to 9 o'clock at night over there. Leave them alone, Lawrence. Let them come down before they go to bed. Yeah. Wonderful discussion tonight. Thank you. It's just been sheer joy talking with you tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well, sir.
I have. I've really enjoyed talking to you, Lawrence, and I hope everyone that's been watching has enjoyed it as well. And yeah, it's just fantastic to share, and I think that's what it's all about. It's just sharing whatever knowledge we can with each other and having these conversations. So well done, Lawrence, for continuing this and bringing it out to the people. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's so important because lovely Monique's in. Hello, darling. Even in these discussions, even if you disagree with what's being said, that's fine. Do you know what? The element of debate has been lost a little bit.
Yeah.
But to not agree with what's being said is great, because it actually makes you examine what your thoughts are. Exactly. Or it may reinforce thoughts that you didn't really understand or realize you had. And this is the wonder and the beauty of this much widely more accepted form of conversation and debate. Do you know what? I'm not blowing my trumpet or anything, but I would rather spend an hour on here than watching Strictly or Get Me Out of the whatever it is, Jungle and all that nonsense. Because you come away with food for thought, which is always good. Anyway, sir, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, been a sheer joy. Thank you, everybody, whether you've been watching us live tonight or watching us on the wonderful ability to catch up later. Thank you for your presence. Tomorrow, the church will be streaming its service as normal at 11 a.m. on GMT. We have a Reverend Ashley Oliver, not a Reverend, the Reverend Ashley Oliver, who's a beautiful lady. And she has taken us on a journey through the Advent Sundays in December. So it was wonderful, because last week people were saying, I can't wait for next Sunday. And I thought, well, this is nice. This story is unfolding. So she'll be taking us on this journey through the meaning of the different Advent Sundays. And then we have the wonderful Phyllis Rumney, CSNU, who will be sharing philosophy and demonstrating evidential mediumship. So that is live on Facebook and our YouTube channel at 11 a.m. GMT tomorrow. In the meantime, Jason, you're an act. Do you know what? I see why people love you, because you are. You're lovely. You are. You seriously. You're such a lovely man.
Oh, thank you.
And fingers crossed, when I'm working in Hlland next year, that we can actually meet up.
That would be nice. I'm
That
sure.
would be amazing. And
I,
the lovely Monique Backer has said that she may well join in then. Wouldn't
that'd
that
be
be?
good, wouldn't it?
We
Yeah,
better make that at the end of my training weekend because I think one or two schnapps may be involved.
probably more than likely.
But anyway, it's been a sheer joy. Thank you, Jason, so much for what you brought to us tonight. It's been absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. And we wish you a very safe, pleasant, warm, and secure night. We're on the south coast and we're getting battered at the moment a little bit down here. So wherever you are, I hope the weather is kinder to you. Good night, everybody.